Today's top 5. In case you missed what today's top 5 is, Steve and I rank different things in sports context in obviously ranked 1 through 5. And today's is going to be Chris Paul is not officially waived by the Phoenix Suns, but it is in talks that might happen. They have till June 28th to fully guarantee his contract, which is still a lot of money. It's over $30 million. He's guaranteed 15.8 and 24. So trying to see how the money works for Chris Paul. So today's top 5 is what Steve and I think the 5 best landing spots for Chris Paul would be if he's waived and becomes a free agent this offseason. So let's take a look at today's top 5. So here's today's top 5, where we have the 5 best teams for Chris Paul in terms of where he think he'd fit the best, the teams that need him the most, all that good stuff. So number 1, the Memphis Grizzlies. Now listen, whoa.
Hey, oh, how's your ass?
Cam, they already have John Morant. What are you doing adding Chris Paul to the Grizzlies? Well, let me tell you something. We are fully aware that John Morant is going to be missing a significant portion of this season. We also know that John Morant is a full-blown moron. And the Grizzlies are young and have not a culture problem, but a leadership and someone to guide them through the NBA problem. Chris Paul is like the best guy to do that. Come in and be the dad of the Memphis Grizzlies, give a John Morant a slap up behind the head and say, what's wrong with you? You don't need Chris Paul to come in and score a whole lot of points. He's just there to be the veteran presence, the veteran leader, and kind of get those guys back into shape. So Memphis Grizzlies, I think, would be the number 1 spot. Number 2, another shocker, the Washington Wizards. Now listen.
Say what?
The Washington Wizards, if you weren't aware, have 3 20-point scorers a game in Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, and Kyle Kuzma. You get Chris Paul coming into the playoffs, setting up Bradley Beal, or Porzingis posting up down low, feeding him in, and you don't need Chris Paul, again, to come in there and score a lot of points. Just be that veteran guy and help everybody else. And Chris Paul already has a health playoff issue. I mean, you got Bradley Beal in there to take care of the main bulk. So I just think Chris Paul with that team would be a playoff team. They only missed by a few games this past season. So Washington Wizards, number 2 in our spot.
I also think that bringing Chris Paul in would keep Bradley Beal, because there's been rumors the last couple of seasons that Bradley Beal is considering leaving, or they're shopping him or something like that. But I think that you bring in Chris Paul, and that's incentive to keep Bradley Beal on the team.
Number 3, the Phoenix Suns. Now, he's already obviously a Sun, but he's not guaranteed to go back there. I think we've seen the last of DeAndre Ayton in a Phoenix uniform. Good. I think they will, if they keep Chris Paul, which I'm going to assume they will, but if they keep Chris Paul, I think they're going to say to him, listen, Chris, you're 106 years old, you won a lot of money, and we're putting our hopes and dreams into Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Find where you fit. Give them the ball, try to create for them, throw in your 15 points, and just kind of mesh. Which I think at this point he'll be okay with, because I think he wants a ring more than anything at this point. I want her to stop moving before I continue talking. Okay. Number 4, the Los Angeles Lakers.
With LeBron and AD on any team, you're going to be a contender. I think that's been shown this year, the fact that the Lakers came through the play-in and were still able to make it as far as they did in the playoffs. Adding Chris Paul, LeBron and Chris Paul have said for years that they would love to play together before both of them retire. And also look at the point guards that the Lakers had this last season with D'Angelo Russell and Dennis Schroeder. I definitely think that Chris Paul going to the Lakers would not only add that veteran presence, but also just him playing with LeBron would definitely be a plus, and the trio of LeBron, AD, and Chris Paul in LA would definitely be a contending trio. So I think that Chris Paul fits really well with the Lakers.
And we know that Chris Paul, obviously a history with the Clippers. He has a second home in LA. I think he just, like a lot of other celebrities and athletes, likes being in LA to play sports. I mean, who wouldn't? So I think, and obviously the LeBron connection, as you mentioned, super huge in that decision. I think it's going to be a money thing for the Lakers, and if they're comfortable with taking away some minutes from other guys that maybe they feel should get them. But the Lakers at number 4, certainly a great option. Number 5, we have split between Boston and Philadelphia, because Steve, I think it should be Boston. Steve thinks it should be Philadelphia. We'll explain both in a moment. So for the Boston side, there's been a lot of talk about Jaylen Brown wanting to get out of Boston, be his own man somewhere. I think Boston has had a lot of adult presence in the room and another kind of leadership issue, but to a lesser extent. So kind of like Memphis, Chris Paul can come in and be the dad, sit down Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and say, boys, what are we doing? You are 2 of the top 25, top 20 players maybe in this league, and you're fighting over what? Figure it out. He can set them up, just like I said before, with the Wizards and the Scorers, get the ball to them, they get their own shots, and he's just there to tie everyone together.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem for Boston, though, is, again, but to a higher extent than Lakers, it's going to be a money issue. So that's why I think Boston should be number 5.
Philly is a few pieces away from getting over that hump in the second round, getting past Boston. And one thing that Philly's consistently struggled with in the last few years, I do not believe that James Harden is the point guard of Ode. I do not believe he's the 2018, nor will he ever be that 2018 James Harden again. And I don't think that he really fit Philly's style of offense the way that we were trying to play it. Bringing in Nick Nurse and adding somebody like Chris Paul, a veteran, proven, maybe not proven to the point of winning finals, but proven to the point of being able to get to the finals and making playoff runs, bringing in a point guard that is of the caliber of Chris Paul, because I believe he still has a lot left in the tank, and pairing him with a pedigree, a proven coach like Nick Nurse, second winningest coach since 2010, only to Steve Kerr. So pairing him with a guy like Joel Embiid, who needs kind of a point guard who has that basketball IQ to know, okay, this is what he's going to do. This is what fits Joel Embiid's game best. And this is how I can help facilitate that offense through Joel Embiid best, but then also be a mentor to the young guys like Tyrese Maxey and DeAnthony Melton. I think that that's why Philly has the money to pay Chris Paul, whereas I don't feel like Boston, because they're going to have to dish out $600 million between Tatum and Brown. I just don't think that it's I think it's a good fit. I just don't think it's a viable option. And the other thing that I'll say about Chris Paul wanting to, if he's released and if he ends up going to another team, I don't feel like Chris Paul is going to go to a team that's not a current contender. So when we look down this list, I definitely think the Grizzlies, I think the Suns, the Lakers, and the Celtics would probably be the best contenders on this list.
Yes. So today's top 5 best teams for Chris Paul. Number 1, the Memphis Grizzlies. Number 2, the Washington Wizards. Number 3, the Phoenix Suns. Number 4, the Los Angeles Lakers. And splitting our number 5 spot, the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Today's top 5.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.